and blessed unity with the L-O-V-E. Love is the solution, so set your love free with the L-O-V-E. Further evolution and blessed unity.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Self-Love Show. It is Thursday morning at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We're consistent. We're here. So are you. Good morning, everyone. If you watch or listen to this show, you know that I'm not the one who generally does the introductions. So you get off-the-cuff script, and it's so sweet because I'm delighted to introduce Dawn today, my beloved sister, my friend, my business partner, my colleague, my soulmate. We've talked a lot about that on the show. And we get to talk about something really fucking hot and spicy today. And I don't know about you, but it's kind of up in the air right now. It's like lots of things. I've been hearing a lot of it in the space, in the field, we'll call it. And yeah. So just as a reminder that you can find us, if you're so inclined, at the YouTube channel, which I will put that in. You also can find us on Spotify now. Guess how to find that? The Self-Love Show. Who knew? And there's a picture of us on it. You can't miss it. So here's a little bit about the show today. Are money patterns getting in the way of the love you want? Learn how to shift your perspective around the divine relationship with your money patterns and your partner. Unravel the way you have been holding the relationship in your mind from the pattern of dissatisfaction into radical transformation and unconditional love. Come into fully owning your power and take sacred responsibility for your relationship with trust, while relieving your romantic relationship of burdensome expectations and pressure so you can create a rich, playful intimacy with your partner. There is a point in time when you hear your truth and is felt on a visceral level. The tears come pouring down. These tears are a gift. We call that a breakthrough. And this is why I love what I do. This is a quote direct from Dawn Light. So here, you don't ever get this. So here is all about Dawn. And I'm so excited to read your bio because it's such a personal piece to have a show with you and just you know? So for anyone who's watching or listening right now, live or the replay, go ahead and comment. We'll respond. And give Dawn some love right now. As founder and CEO of Spark Your Inner Gold LLC, self-love coach Dawn Light Amora has always maintained the belief that healing takes place on a holistic level. This philosophy was something that came to Dawn innately. As a successful theta healing therapist since 2005, which that's where I got to first work with her, Dawn knew she was on the right path and wanted to complete her studies so that she could help guide others dealing with many of today's issues. With that intention in her heart, she went to attend the California Coast University in Santa Ana and earned a bachelor's degree in psychology. Dawn then attended the master's program in spiritual psychology at the University of Santa Monica. For additional studies, Dawn is also a certified Life Mastery Institute coach. Dawn noticed that today's fast-paced life hasn't left much room for self-awareness. As she puts it, without addressing the deeper spiritual curriculum that stands in the way of authentic self-expression, finding love and happiness is a guessing game. Dawn has the ability to tune in and help facilitate her clients to seek their answers from within, to dissolve and heal long-standing patterns within their consciousness. Making transformations and breakthroughs is the reason Dawn chose this particular path. Unraveling her clients' barriers to self-love and self-trust is Dawn's niche. Dawn credits her work as a spiritual psychology coach with the strong conviction that healing happens from the inside out. She is dedicated to assisting high-frequency women in real and lasting change. The issues experienced by people today require a spiritual component and a guide and guidance from someone who is soul-centered and has deep conscious awareness. As quoted by Mary Holnick, how we relate to the issue is a core principle of Dawn's coaching practice. Dawn is one of the featured coaches on a new app called Life You Love, a 21-day audio program with a team of experts in different fields, helping individuals discover their higher self. She is currently creating an online course and writing an ebook on higher self-love. Her life's work involves coaching, workshops, retreats, and is an ordained minister with a Universal Life Church, officiating weddings in Sonoma County. Dawn is happily married to her soulmate of 19 years, 20 years, I think this is. They have a son, a dog, and a cat.
Multiple cats.
In Santa Rosa, Dawn enjoys yoga, writing, hiking, and spending time with her family. And I'm just going to put it in so you can see and I'm going to put some of these things in. So as you listen, you can, if you're a woman, a lady body, you are welcome to go into the self-love or the Reclaiming Your Trust group today and check out the program that we're going to be talking about today too. Dawn, I'm happy to have you here again.
Thank you. It's not very often you get to hear like your bio, and I definitely need to make some changes in it, but it's fine. Thank you so much. Wow, today is a big topic, right? Like money patterns getting in the way of our love relationships. So for our viewers out there, I just want to tune in, like put in the chat, give us some love here today if you're viewing and this is up for you. So this has been a hot point for me for many, many years. Based on my curriculum, I grew up with a rageaholic father that was really abusive, and money was the hot topic in our household. How many of us have had parents that fought about money all the time? Like, let's be honest, my curriculum is rooted in that dialogue, right? And so it's been years and years and years and years, and I could go on and add more and more years to that. How many years I've devoted to like peeling back the layers and cleansing the lens of perception around my wounds in that department, And so it still comes to the forefront sometimes, as now it's a process where I get to just work with it, and I'm more conscious of what's going on when things arise. But the younger parts of me that experience the trauma are more whole and healed, because I've really worked with all the different age stages within myself around the big trauma points. And so I just want to speak frankly and honestly about how, money is a big deal. It's like air. We kind of need it on the earth. At this point in Earth's school, the earth is still reliant on money exchange for our well-being and life, right? And so until that shifts, it'll be some other type of exchange, energy exchange. But it's money holds so much charge for so many people, and there's so much identity wrapped in it, right? And the identity can sometimes be a false narrative that gets perpetuated in the outer field and reflected to us. And so that can be a culmination of your own childhood experiences being reflected back to you, where the wounding was or the trauma was or whatever. So I can speak from my experience, and I'll share this. So for me, like a big one that I had to work on a lot in my childhood was my mom and dad always fighting about money. And I was so young, I didn't understand what they were really fighting about. And I had sheer terror, like the feeling of hearing my dad berate my mother constantly. And my mother was running a business. So this is the parallel between her life and mine. Like, how we're imprinted really sets us up in our life for our curriculum to unfold. Well, my mother was really doing Mary Kay at the time and building an empowerment business for women, right? And so there's the parallel. I serve women, she served women at that time in her life. And I think that I carried the torch in a way and for what she desired at that time. And So it's fascinating, but I watched my father be so critical of every move she made. Like every choice she made, being so angry and hurtful and unkind, and it definitely deflated her self-esteem to the, she had none at that time. She was fighting against someone that didn't believe in her authentic expression, and it was so hard as a child to witness that. And I love my mom so much, and she's such a trooper and made it through that with shining colors, and like she's such an outstanding person, always has such a positive mindset, and I just praise my mother for making it through that. And but this is such a bless you, this is such an experience of how we hear about money in our younger years shows up in our adult years as opportunity. And so put in the chat box, what has been your opportunity? And have you experienced a barrier in your own loving relationships, boyfriends, long-term standing relationships, where you've experienced you're afraid. You're afraid to really reveal all the truth about your money. Maybe you have separate money dynamic because there's a place of like distrust that you could actually be fully cared for. That was mine. I was like, "Ooh, I can't really fully share all of like what's gone on." This was my own core because of how I was treated in my childhood. It showed up in my later adult years where I distrusted men. I distrusted men to care for me, to really support me fully, to really have a solid foundation and trust that my actual needs could be met. And so give me a shout out in the chat box if that has been you. And if so, we're going to do a process in a little bit in the show. It's a little bit in, but I will absolutely guide us through a really big awareness to give you a cleansing of the lens of perception around how you hold what pattern is surfacing for you. And it doesn't have to be the way I've held it in my consciousness or what I've experienced. You can work with it in a myriad of ways. But here's the thing. Money means a lot of things to a lot of us, right? And who doesn't want more money and prosperity in their field and in their life, right? Everyone does. Every person I talk to wants more expansion in that department usually. And so, and great, if you have a lot of expansion, why not more, right? So this is an opportunity to really take an honest look. There's no shame here. This is a judgment-free zone always. It's just a really beautiful opportunity to take a deeper look at how you could be projecting onto the field in your experience the places that are still unhealed in your money dynamic with your beloved. Because who doesn't want to have a better love relationship? And money is, when you do the statistics on divorces happen because of money, big time. It's one of the number one statistics of the reasons why. And I can honestly speak for being in my 40s. I can see the patterns that go on in the 40s and 50s. We start dealing with a lot of pressure of adulting. We start dealing with a lot of the, buying a home, having a mortgage, having multiple children. The expenses go woo, and especially, living in California, it's expensive. Right. And I know this show goes broadcast far and wide, but I know with the changes of the pandemic that have happened and all the things, it's a thing. So it's a big thing that money is affecting all the areas of life. And there's big, big changes on the earth right now around how to make changes with our money dynamic altogether. And so it affects our personal relationships. So I just am curious, like I would love some people to just post in the chat if you're seeing this, like, hey, I get it. This is my experience, How is your money dynamic showing up for you? I'm so curious. For me, I can speak from honesty. It's been years of working on myself to be able to step into my gifts. Like this is an honest, authentic conversation. I couldn't even have an honest, authentic conversation for a long time. I was afraid, deeply afraid to reveal the real truth about how I felt about things because I was so shamed as a child that I had so many blocks with my voice and my expression from the trauma I experienced. So, and I was I was punished with numbers and time, and that equated there's an actual, Eric Erickson studies the age stages. And so this is an actual year-long program I have that around the age stage healing. And it's really powerful. For me, my main trauma took place at 7, and it actually shows and is measured scientifically that when someone has trauma at that age stage, what you're learning is so powerful at that time. And if you have experienced a lot of trauma, it can show up as an inability to financially have a solid financial foundation. And so I struggled against a debt cycle for all my adult years. As soon as I got into my 20s and started working, now I've always had great work ethic. I was holding 2 jobs at the age of 17. Like, I had no problem having great work ethic and making money, but there was this inconsistency that we call them stackers in University of Santa Monica, that the situations would just come down the pipeline to always drain the bucket. And then I would have to dip into debt, and then it would just became this cycle. And then I would free myself, and then it would start all over again. And so I can honestly say now at this time in my life, I'm so thankful because I can see that that is completing truly to the T and building true passive income now is the portal and the place, the gateway I'm stepping into in my life, because I've been having a conscious prayer for a long time and studying wealth principles and studying prosperity principles to really better myself on top of the spiritual psychology work, doing the deep inner reflective work around where's the wounds, what do I make it mean, what do I identify with, what do I judge, right? And I can honestly say for me, I had a lot of judgments to clear. I had so much judgments to clear around my dad and my mom, and even in my dad's death, how it was left with the will, and even my stepmother, and that whole dynamic still unfolding. It's still clearing, and I've been holding the perspective of just holding the light and seeing her as just playing a role in an intergenerational pattern healing. And that's really profound, that I've come that far, that I don't hold a sense of loss, regret, anger any longer, or even the feeling. And when I found out that my father left me out of the will, that I'd hurt deeply, because I was like, wow. But I realized that it was all a mastermind plan on her part. And she just wanted me out of the picture, and it worked. She got me out of the picture, out of the house fast. And I left home at 17 and never looked back and made my way. And so that's really amazing that you're getting my life story here. So, and it's still being resolved. But the beautiful thing is my brother and I are allies, and we're working to resolve and acknowledging the intergenerational pattern that has been played out. Because what's gone on with my dad's estate and my stepmother is an exact identical mirror replication of what went on with my grandfather and his stepmother. So when you lean into doing your family work, where you start investigating your actual family patterning, you can actually start to see the deeper patterning and the deep misidentifications that are passed on in the bloodline and the DNA, which really formulate our encoding and our patterning that we are born into and are meant to work through in our soul's curriculum. So this has all been a part of my spiritual learning, right? It's the foundation of how to come into my gifts, be spiritually aligned, share this with others, help others break their deep intergenerational ingrained patterns, and, truly come home to a beautiful wealth consciousness that is in true, beautiful aligned relationship with spirit, that's stewarding spirit's wealth, right? And so that's the deep inner work and my learning through this whole lifetime, and now being 47 and where I'm at in my journey with it. And so my love offering to you today is to really step forward into bringing forward, let's look at the core pattern. So I want to ask you, Trish, how's it shown up for you? I've shared a lot, so thank you for giving me the space to talk. How has the money pattern showed up for you possibly in your love dynamics? I can't hear you. There we
Want to speak? Thank you for sharing your life story around money and some of the pain points around, yeah, your early childhood and the stuff around your dad. And I know that those things can be really, they're those things are really painful. It's really painful to feel so excluded.
Definitely. Thank you for
Yeah, you know, I wanna go back a little bit to a couple, like a long time ago. We did a show around success and redefining success. And as I do the work that I do, I'll share my story, but I'm also wanting to share even beyond myself. Um, that there's a couple things around the society, the global society that we live in, but also the capitalist society that we also live in, around how worth is based in a dollar value,
Yes.
and productivity is, we get up, we work, we do these things, and if you rest or take care of yourself, then that's where, like, the program of becoming lazy, like, oh, that's lazy, because you need to take care of yourself if you're not being productive in relationship to what productivity looks like. um and I could go really deep into how this kind of started, but I'm not going to today. But there's like a whole social program that a lot of us play into. A lot of us play into this idea of my value or my worth. It looks like the number in my bank account, or buying things, or keeping up with the Joneses, or having this level of materialism that's kind of fed to us. That's like, I'm constantly striving for more, and not finding the joy in this very moment.
Mhm.
Which brings me to, I grew up really poor. Um, I had some really interesting conflicting beliefs. So on one side, I grew up in a trailer park in Montana to a single income family. My stepfather was a truck driver, and my mom was a homemaker until she like had to get struggled to get a job in this like tiny little town that I lived in. Like, it was a town of 600 people. It's not a lot of opportunity for jobs. And she struggled for years to find a job there. Jobs are very scarce. And on the other side of my life, my dad and my stepmom um, were, we'll call it lower middle class. And they had some fairly good jobs, but 3 kids, which means that the income and the way that they had a house, a flat home, like whatever they call, not a flat home, but a single floor home with 3 bedrooms. So the 2 girls, me and another one, stayed in one room, and the boy lived in the other. And honestly, like, growing up in a kind of a dual income mentality of like lower, we'll call it middle lower class and lower middle class kind of dynamic, which is pretty, similar but different, very different in the way that they spent money, in the way that they talked about money, in the way that they saved money, in the way that they would talk about getting what they want. I remember in my 20s, my mom said to me once, I was like, Mom, how do you live on so little money? Because I just like work all the time. You know this. I work all the time. I'm constantly like going to places where I can work, or that's involved in whatever. And I was like, how do you live on so little money? And she goes, I want less. And I sat there for a long time. Probably, I mean, I'm still thinking about this concept of wanting less. And it's taken many renditions. Like, I love my mom so much. She's taught me so many amazing things. She's an incredible woman. And gosh, her life story, if you haven't heard our mother's life stories, there is a show on Mother's Day a few months ago that was just phenomenal.
Yeah, so sweet.
Yeah, and so it's just like, I love my mom. Sending love out there.
I know. I love my mom too. She's taught me so many valuable lessons.
And one of those pieces was, like this idea of like wanting less, but like even in my childhood, the places of money. So you asked specifically how it shows up in my relationships. I don't recall. It's hard for me in my earlier, like getting out of school and figuring all that out. I was like, what a mess. Like, I was not prepared for the world. And then in my, like, with my ex-fiance, we would argue about money in a way that was, let me just think about it for a second. I was really afraid, and I was really like struggling to get ahead. Like, again, constant money seeking, constant this, like, this is how we should do it. This is the da-da-da-da. And I wanted to, quote unquote, get ahead. I was really in the success mindset, like the capitalism success mindset. And he would just, I don't know where his money would go. I mean, I have no idea. Sometimes I'd be like, how did $4,000 just like blew? How did that happen for you? And I would, I was just nitpicky with money. I'd be like, okay, this goes here, and I wouldn't spend in it, and I would just like hoard it. I was like,
who else has done this?
And we'd argue with money a lot. Like, he would make more money, but he also wanted me to share, like to do my half. And I was like, I'm sorry, but I'm struggling to do my half. And he wanted like a better apartment, but I couldn't afford it. And like, so we created like some dynamics where he would pay a little bit more, but that created weird power dynamics. Let's okay.
Yeah.
And so then he would play like power dynamic games, with me, like, oh, well, I'm paying more. And I'd be like, shit. Sorry.
Which set up the like dynamic of, I'm better than you energetically, right? Or a story going on, power dynamics.
And then that switched because he lost his job and I quit school to work more so that we didn't have to leave our apartment and have the same similar lifestyle without like having as much. And then I became the kind of control freak. When he would ask for money for some things, I would be like, well, what are you spending money on? Like, this is my fucking hard-earned money. God, I really got to stop cussing. And then there was, so then in the next relationship, this person made us so much money. I mean, like, more money than I have made in my entire lifetime. And the way that he thought about money and behaved with money was just like wild to me. I was like, wow. He was very conscious about how much he spent and on all of these things, and he would give me loans, but that created a very different power dynamic because he wanted me to go do things with him, but I could literally not afford it, like, at all. And so it would be like, well, I'm going to do this for you, but I didn't know how much there was a subconscious expectation, unspoken expectations, which also made me feel like, bad. I felt really terrible and really insecure and really
subservient, possibly.
What?
Subservient, possibly.
I'm a little bit too rebellious for that, and I would always just like,
yeah. But I really hear what you're saying about feeling deeply insecure, right? It sets that up.
I was like, I really want I want to be at the same level, but I don't even know how to get there. And I'm not a corporate job kind of person. Like I speak too much to like inequalities.
Yeah.
And then my last relationship was one of the most interesting relationships around money, because I'm pretty good with like I have this thing that I do called Money Love Mondays, and gosh, it's been a few years of just sitting with my own feelings around money and making friends with wherever it is. Some days I'm good. Some days I'm like,
so good what you're saying.
so some days I'm like, oh crap, like how is it gonna come, you know? And the Money Love Mondays really helped me understand my beliefs, my a relationship to money. Like I actually started to behave as a relationship to it. And it's changed, different. It's very, very different these days. And I'm noticing what I put the like judgments or the meaning that I put on money, the way that I feel about like people with money, or the people I feel about like my like inherent running judgments that are part of the program, that either my program or society's program. Like one of the bias judgments that people ask like in like bias work, checking your bias work, is when you see someone with, if you see a homeless person, what are your inherent judgments? Like what do you actually automatically think? And a lot of the time they say that people, so the idea is like people with money are good and people with money are bad, and they deserve to, without money are bad and they deserve to be there. There's some really, like, go look this piece up. It is fascinating to see those pieces. And just to wrap up, this last relationship was really interesting because this person had a lot of money. And their relationship to spending money, their relationship to money, their relationship to making it was unlike any person I'd ever met before.
Wow.
Like sometimes even now, I mean, like the energetic exchange, I mean, they have their own stuff around it, but sometimes I'd be like, I wonder, like, you know, what would Jesus do? I kind of just like, what would this person do around it? How would they behave? How would they walk with the belief around? Here, an example. So we were walking up this, we were just like going for a walk, and we're looking at all these beautiful houses, and I'm like talking about how's my business going to grow? How am I gonna, I want to, like, one of my big dreams in this lifetime that never even seemed possible was to buy a home. I'm so far away from even potentially buying a home, but by the time I'm 40, I would love to buy a home, and to be instead of investing in rent. And luckily my rent right now goes to some of my best friends in the world, so I have zero qualms in like paying this. But like I really want to buy a home by the time I'm 40, and I'm kind of sharing this dream, and we're kind of talking about some of it, but I have feelings about it. I want the safety of a home. I want these things. My parents didn't have a home. My dad and my stepmom did, but my mom and my stepdad didn't. They had a trailer park, or a trailer in a trailer park. And he's talking about, this is a $15 million home, just so nonchalantly, that I was like, oh my God, this is the difference between poverty consciousness and wealth consciousness. It literally is the shift about how one feels about it, how they believe the energetics move. And, you know, like, and you all know this, and I'm going to wrap this up too. You all know this is like, if I'm really frustrated with something or sad, or it's the energetics of pushing away. Like if I'm grasping for it, have you ever grasped for a partner and how they just naturally just pull away? It doesn't create the flow. Like, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of us in a lot of really like shit situations. And there are programs, including like food service programs. And if you need help filling out these paperwork for these programs, please let me know. Go get on, your medical insurance in whatever state you're in. This is for the U.S. I can only speak to this. There's food bank services. I mean, if things are tough, it's okay to use these services. This is not a taboo. Just want to say, like, they're for you.
Mm-hmm.
If you need help filling out this paperwork, let me know and I'll help you fill it out. Non-judgment. This is one of the things we offer for love service. I've used these services before, right? This is how the government does want to help you get ahead in some ways. So it's the idea of, what is your relationship to money? What is your relationship to money and sex? What is your relationship to money and love? What is your relationship to money and success and money and worth? Like, start thinking about those things.
Yes,
Anyway.
yes. Those are great. This is a great segue. I think that we should lead into the actual teaching moment. I want to bring forward an actual moment so I just want to guide you to, before we do this process, the whole concept of this show is really not, truly about money. It's about the barriers that we experience in our relationships that block us from having more loving in our relationship because of money issues, right? Which can trickle down from possibly, anywhere in your childhood dynamic. Because if you partner with somebody at a radically different money dynamic than your own childhood, their childhood was different, then it can be conflicting, inner language going on. So I just encourage you to think about one moment when you were very, very, very triggered about something that might have come forward in your love dynamic or your relationship where you're being mirrored an opportunity to grow, but it's very triggering. And it was possibly having to do with your relationship with money together. So this is an opportunity to look at that moment. All right. So we're going to do a cleansing of the lens of perception process. And I just want to say this is a spiritual psychology process from Ron and Mary Holnick, and I'm so honored to share it. And so one of the most frequently asked questions by students learning to work their process is, how do I know when I'm projecting? This is indeed a key question. Before you can experience the epiphanies, healing, and liberation associated with owning and accepting and dissolving projections, becoming aware that projection is taking place and identifying the projection are essential. Emotional reactiveness in response to another person is a strong indication that projection is operating. The value of becoming conscious of projections is in using them as feedback that an opportunity is present for healing by re-owning previously disowned energy that operates in the unconscious and is invested in what is often referred to as the shadow. Rather than see something we perceive as unacceptable within ourselves, we'd prefer to see it as separate from us and belonging to others. So the ego, operating in the duality of good, bad, right, and wrong, uses the defense mechanism of projection because something is uncomfortable to acknowledge and accept as a part of our behavior or consciousness. So another way projection can be understood is through exploring the spiritual psychology principle. Outer experience is a reflection of inner reality. That is powerful. So your relationships with others reflect your relationship with yourself. And the things that you judge or find objectionable in others are potentially indicators of 4 things. And these 4 things are, they're things we do to ourselves inside but are not aware of doing. Or they're things we do to others but are not aware of doing. Or they're reflections having to do with our relationship with God. Or they're things that we don't do inwardly or outwardly, but judge as wrong when others do them because we have yet to make peace with the fact that we are quite capable of doing them given certain conditions. So powerful. So we're going to move forward. The benefit of owning, accepting, and dissolving projections is in reclaiming your power, stemming the tide of train wrecks in relationships and the energy leakage associated with unhealed wounds that foster projection. This is done through forgiving your judgments, clarifying and updating your limiting interpretations of reality, and bringing compassion and forgiveness to yourself and others. It is the alchemical process of transforming lead into gold. All right, so I'm going to now guide you. I encourage you to bring forward just that moment in time. Bring forward something that was in your relationship if you're in one. And if you're not, it's okay. Bring forward something that triggered you, that was really about a money pattern. Just take a second and really align with your heart and invoke your inner counselor. Always be aware that you are a loving essence, calmly experiencing everything your personality or ego is going through, regardless of your current thoughts, feelings, or behaviors, and consciously look for the loving that's present inside of you and another. Remember that you have all the inner resources necessary always to effectively respond to your situation. So I invite you to identify a person with whom you experience yourself moving into some level of irritation, judgment, or from time to time, I'm upset because. So I invite you to state a clear, positive intention for taking dominion within your consciousness and learn to cleanse the lens of perception by owning, accepting, and dissolving a negative projection that is being reflected through your relationship with this person. So I invite you to share what it is about the person that is disturbing or upsetting to you. And be honest here with yourself. So just going to take a pause for this because I want you to really attune to being honest. What is disturbing and upsetting about this? It could be a money pattern. It could be something they said that really triggered you. Really lean into what the trigger is. There's content and information there. What's disturbing and upsetting? So I encourage you to honestly share your experience and feelings. I'm upset because ... Can you give it a voice? Give the feelings a voice. What's happening for you? Don't shove them down. Let's own them. Give them a voice. What's really, you're upset. Now, and I'm moving a little faster just to honor time, but you can always rewatch this and do it again and again. Communicate your understanding and acceptance of your partner and their feelings, right? That's really important. Moving forward, what is it that you find the most objectionable about this person, this money pattern, or about the situation? This is important as it helps clarify what is being experienced and reflected. Right. Now, what is the experience that you perceive this person is doing and the way they are treating you or mirroring or reflecting to you about your relationship with yourself, with you inside of you? Can you identify what this is? And I'm going to read the 4 points again. It has to do with things we do to ourselves inside but are not aware of doing, things we do to others but are not aware of doing, reflections having to do with our relationship with God, or things that we don't do inwardly or outwardly but judge as wrong when others do them because we have yet to make peace with the fact that we are quite capable of doing them given certain conditions. Okay. So what is it reflecting inside of you? What is it? Can you identify what it is inside of you around this pattern you're experiencing? Really think about what is the projection that is the possibility that you can fully take ownership of now. Assist your partner, yourself, in exploring how you object in the other person. So how do you object in the other person? It's really important to ask yourself. Okay, so now that you're aware of your objection and the pattern that's been identified, I encourage you in accepting responsibility for this inside yourself. What is this pattern that you can fully, it's okay, no change has to take place yet, but just go ahead and accept what is. Because first law of spirit is acceptance. So can we move into a place of acceptance over the mental and emotional upset, the places that judgments have taken place, or possibly the way that you have judged yourself through this? And remember, acceptance does not mean resignation. It's being at peace with what is. And this is where we start to own the projection that is possibly taking place. Now, I encourage you and invite you to move into loving compassion for yourself and what you've unknowingly done to yourself. And then move into compassionate self forgiveness of any judgments of yourself or the other person or misinterpretations of reality, misidentifications. So I'm going to guide you through this right now. It's really, really simple. Bring forward the biggest judgment that you hold from this projection you've been identified, the pattern. Where do you hold judgment? What is it? I forgive myself. I forgive myself for the misidentification and the judgment of blank. I forgive myself for judging the other person as inconsiderate, unkind in their words, whatever it may be. I forgive myself for the misidentification of believing they don't have my back. I forgive myself for the misidentification of believing that I'm let down or uncared for, right? I'm riffing off of things that are coming into my consciousness, but your circumstance it's very personal to you. So it's really important to identify what the judgments are. And this is your opportunity to cleanse the lens of perception. This is actually how you do it through forgiveness work. So I forgive myself. Anytime anything triggers you, this is it. I forgive myself. Like immediately, what are the judgments? Now, I'm just going to give you one more moment to really lean into that. Where did you judge yourself or the other person from the pattern that took place around the money conversation? I forgive myself for judging myself as not being able to fully, be present for what's here for me. That's the learning. There's a learning taking place. When you're triggered, it's yours, it's your learning. All right. So I invite you to close your eyelids and receive a blessing from this inner work that we just did together. And remember that you can re-watch this show or re-listen to it on Spotify to do the process again. So I invite you to come into the silence and to breathe into your loving and to breathe out the loving. Remember, your essential nature is loving and that you're a divine being having a human experience, including your spiritual curriculum in service to your awakening. Gently breathe loving into all the areas of your consciousness, in the levels of your consciousness, into every cell of your body, cleansing, clearing, dissolving, lifting any shred of negativity, anything that has clouded your lens of perception and fostered projection. We ask that this clearing and blessing be done through the Holy Spirit and for your highest good, dissolving the projection completely, dissolving all parts and coming and making whole what has been there. For this has been unresolved material that is being released. And it is released now. It is so. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share this today.
Thank you, Dawn. The way of separating, for lack of better term, maybe it's not even that. Hold on, let me think about it. The way of sort of dissolving or unhooking the identity around money, or the making it mean something about the other person. It's such a helpful, that's what I got. It's such a helpful practice. It's like if we were in romantic relationship, or I mean, we are in relationship, not romantic, but we are in relationship and business relationship. It's a lot of
This
like
can apply to any relationship. True.
that. Yeah. So that there is like to not take on someone's money beliefs or their identity beliefs, or just to again, to unhook from their reality being something that I'm responsible for, and making someone responsible for my reality as well. You know, it's like it's so helpful to lean back into that more compassionate acceptance space,
Mhm.
to
You know,
create space.
the portal of the heart is how we heal. It is. It's, it's how we heal at the deepest level is through the heart, through our loving. That's where the healing takes place. It's not in the mind. Our mind wants to, sink its teeth in it and think that it has the answers in the way, but it's really in the heart. Yeah. Yeah. So I just encourage our viewers out there, you know, to just lean into this practice and give yourself permission to explore the upset, that whatever comes, whatever it may be, it's your learning opportunity, and it's not wrong or bad that it's showing up in your field. And let go of judging the other person, the circumstance, yourself, because there's learning available. And when you can lean into exploring what the learning is, then you start to own your side of it, own your projection, own what's taking place for you. And that's where the shift can take place. You're no longer perpetuating the same pattern anymore. By dissolving it, learning to work with it, learning to re-own the really misaligned parts, the parts that have been too painful to own, and then forgive yourself for having it, because it's just a part of who knows what, where it came from, right? It could be your parents' stuff, it could be your grandparents' stuff. Like, this is the thing. These parts are old, very, very old, and sometimes they're not even ours. And so it's really important to be very, very loving towards ourselves, even when it's, incredibly hard. It's important to have a loving dialogue, even in the moment of the crunchy, crunchy times. You can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. We can all do it. That's the thing.
And I also want to bring up this piece is like, it's these patterns and these thoughts are going to keep coming up, and it's about practice. It's about keeping the practice. And
Yeah.
It's not about, hold on, let me just find the right word. It's not about bypassing it with like, oh, it's all good. No, it's not about that. It's about feeling what comes up.
Yes.
It's about you being like, oh my God, my money situation is like really fucking scary right now. Gosh darn it. Really scary right now. Let's try it again. My money situation is really scary right now. And I can feel the fear rising up. I can feel in my body what this looks like. And what I need is security. What I need is trusting.
Yeah.
What I need is, and actually being there with that, to actually make friends with the fear, with the desire for whatever, like
Yeah.
power, control, money, security, safety, and those pieces, because it will come back up. Even if you've done 100 years of this work and like you do it every day, it's still going to come up.
Curriculum is still going to surface. That's just the nature of our spiritual way it works, our humanness. And it's a blessing. It's a blessing because it's happening for you. Because spirit is always wanting to make your life better. And, it has to move out of the way, the things that are in the way of having what you're asking for. And those old ways of relating being misidentifications that are just blocking the blessings, you know, that old limiting perspective can be, and you might not even know that you have an old limiting perspective because really it was your grandparents or your moms or your dads or who knows, you know, but it's really important to allow yourself to really explore inside yourself. And when the stuff is surfacing, just be with, you know, like don't make it mean anything about yourself and be with. Like the other day, I got triggered and I didn't even try to identify. I got out of my mind and I went right into my heart and I just sobbed. I held myself. I put my hand on my heart. I like touched my heart and I just allowed myself to sob and sob and sob. And then I just would let the wave come in and I would just feel, because I know now that feeling the emotional material is the way through. As uncomfortable as it is, it's the way through. Yeah. Yay.
Well, did you get benefit from this tool? If you got benefit, then you are going to love the Sovereign Queen activation.
Aw, yay. Yeah, so please come join. I actually shifted the dates to give a little more space in my calendar that I needed to do, but it's August 29th, I think, through the 2nd. And it's really exciting. So please come. It's 4 days. We're going to have an amazing opportunity to dive into real deep exploration of patterning and how it shows up in your world. The first day is jam packed with all of these tools around how to address your patterning, why it shows up in the way it does. And I'm going to break down all the different age stages. So you're going to get an opportunity to learn what happens in your consciousness at each age stage. So it's a very powerful 4 days full of jam packed of just amazing opportunities to grow and learn about yourself, your own patterning. And if you're a beautiful woman that's been in a relationship for a long time and it's felt, you know, possibly out of balance in any way, or if you have a long-standing pattern of having the same pattern in relationships, this is an opportunity to dive in and explore what this is for yourself so that you can let it go. I did this for a long time. I had the same patterning showing up. Really, it was my childhood stuff. And so I needed to work those processes inside myself to let it go, to ultimately have the relationship I was asking for. And so if I can do it, you can do it. And so I'm here as your guide to just give you the tools and resources. And this is a free 4-day journey. You'll learn all about my life's journey woven in through it. And you're going to get activations. You know, I'm going to give away free gifts every day. And ultimately, if you experience all 4 days and participate full out, then I'm going to give one amazing, beautiful pass to my 6-month program. So, and it's called Unleash Your Sovereign Queen. And it's so juicy and amazing. I'm so honored to do this work. It is deeply fulfilling, spiritually aligned, and the gift I'm here to share with the world. So thank you for the opportunity to do this. And my love and blessings to you. Please show up. It's really amazing. Sign up. It's August 29th through the 2nd. Thank you.
Can you speak to, yes, this is a women's program.
Yes, it is. This is for women. I will do offerings in the future for men too, just so you know, but I haven't gotten there yet because like I felt really, really called to just, you know, work with women. I got clear. Spirit was just like, you need to work with women. So I was very, very clear about that. But I think as time goes on, I will have some offerings for men. And if you're a man and you really want to do the inner work, you know, I will consult with you privately to have private, just one-on-one sessions. Like that is the way. If you're interested in working with me and you really know I'm your person to support you and doing the inner work, then just reach out to me on my Facebook page or my link tree or any of those places. You can find me, just Dawn Light, and reach out to me personally. I'm not opposed to it.
Can we add that link?
Oh yes, yeah.
You can book your call with Dawn if you.
Yes, let me add that really quickly. One sec. Yeah. Yeah, it's so exciting. It's such a great, you know, I'm wrapping up my first round of the program, and it's been so incredibly profound, the journey and the healing, and I'm floored by just the love in the container of what women are sharing. It's really, really amazing. All right, so I'm just going to put my link tree right in here. There you go. There's all the links are there. The self-love show, the YouTube, my personal websites and things. It's all there. So you're welcome to book your call and sign up for the activation. It's going to be great.
So I would like to just say that if you're really appreciating this show and want to know more about epigenetics, the Awakening World is hosting something tomorrow night called the Understanding Epigenetics as We Honor 7 Generations of Past and Forwards. This is a deeper conversation around maybe not just your familial stuff, but really deepening the conversation about how we got here and the epigenetics of maybe, who knows, maybe money. Maybe we can invite Dawn on, who knows, I don't know. And really, yeah, you can find this right here. I'm posting the link for you. Last minute stuff really freaks me out. Ah! Sorry. There you go. So you can find more about the epigenetic stuff. But again, like, go into Dawn Light's program. You can, if you're, can you speak? Sorry, I'm freaking.
Oh, about the program?
About the
Oh,
program, or the Facebook group,
oh,
or
yes, yeah. For the Facebook group, we have a really amazing group called Reclaim Your Trust for Women. And this is a private group for women, but it's free. We have lots of great juicy tools and tips in there and resources just around, stepping into greater trust inside of ourselves, right? Where we've had trust issues or trust triggers. But this was my core curriculum as a child. Like I definitely was taught not to trust, and I had to unlearn that behavior hardwired in my nervous system. So this is just a safe place to come express yourself, be seen and heard by all the women in the container. It's beautiful. And this is, again, an opportunity for, I get to share deep spiritual psychology processes, my own journey, what's been going on, and, the sovereign queen stuff too. So bless you. We're so excited to have you in the container. Please jump in and be a part of it. We'd love to have you.
Awesome. I'm so excited. I want to just say thank you to Dawn and to Sign Network, Love Coach Academy, Scott Thomas for being our muse, as well as like all the people supporting this show, Global Peace Tribe, the assistants that we have, the volunteers that we have working. Thank you so much. And reach out to us if you have any questions. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, and Instagram. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Wonderful week. Woo!